Over the years, people have kept making the exact same mistake with Katt Williams. Different people, different situations, different industries. But somehow the ending always starts to feel familiar. Somebody throws a jab. Somebody questions him. Somebody assumes they're just dealing with another comedian. And then before long, things somehow spiral into something much bigger than anyone expected. Because Katt Williams has never really operated like everybody else. If you're familiar with the world of comedy, then you definitely know the name Katt Williams, a stand-up comedian and actor celebrated for his electrifying energy and razor-sharp delivery. He's regarded as one of the most distinctive voices of his generation. Since breaking onto the scene in the late 90s, Katt embraced a style that fused storytelling, impressions, and brutally honest observations about reality into one package. But what made him different wasn't just the jokes themselves, it was the delivery. Katt never looked like somebody performing material. He looked like somebody standing on stage saying exactly what was on his mind and daring people to tell him he was wrong.
I'm gonna say something to you that sounds like a made it up, and it's really in the news. The FBI said they don't know who's was at the White House. What? What type of investigation did you do? We don't know whose it is. It was in Hunter Biden's room. It said Hunter's on the bag. What do you mean who's? It's crazy. Joe is doing the best he mother can. We done lowered the bar so low for Joe. As long as Joe don't fall, we be fine. Go on and get up them stairs, Joe. There you go. That's a boy.
But just as much as Katt became known for making people laugh, he also became known for something else entirely: chaos. And for years, that chaos seemed to follow him everywhere. Multiple arrests, public confrontations, viral fights, heated interviews. Stories that sounded so ridiculous they almost felt made up became somebody people genuinely didn't want to go back and forth with, because the list of people who had learned that lesson kept getting longer. Fellow comedians, rappers, radio hosts, athletes. It didn't seem to matter who it was.
Like, do you think Shaq could be a stand-up comedian? Who do you think?
I think that Shaq and Russell Simmons should get out of comedy and stay in their lane. They don't see us making a league of professional basketball players under 6 foot. So what qualifies these dudes because they got $100 million to come over in comedy and do Shaq's All-Star Get Out of Here, you bum.
And the strange part was that Katt never really seemed interested in playing nice. While other celebrities spent years trying to avoid controversy, Katt almost looked comfortable standing directly in the middle of it. At times, he even seemed willing to say things that other people wouldn't dare touch publicly. And whether people believed him or not almost didn't matter, because Katt had a way of speaking with the kind of confidence that made people stop and pay attention anyway.
Now, I've had to turn down $50 million for
opinion or whose feelings got hurt along the way. For other people though, there was a completely different interpretation. Katt wasn't exposing people. Katt was attacking them. And depending on who you asked, that line between truth and personal vendetta could get blurry very quickly. Because once you start looking back through his history, a pattern begins showing up over and over again. People would challenge him, disagree with him, take a shot at him, or sometimes simply say the wrong thing at the wrong time. And somehow, they'd end up trapped in a situation that became much bigger than they ever intended. And one person who learned that lesson the hard way was the late Wanda Smith. In the wake of her passing in October of 2024, an old clip suddenly found new life across social media. The infamous 2018 interview between Atlanta radio host and former comedian Wanda Smith and Katt Williams. And if you watched only the ending, you'd probably think Katt walked into that building with a personal grudge, because by the time it was over, the internet had practically turned the interview into legendary status. Wanda getting roasted, Red Grant laughing uncontrollably in the background, people replaying clips over and over again. But that's the thing, none of it actually started that way. Katt originally showed up to support his friend Red Grant and celebrate his Emmy win for Atlanta. That was supposed to be the story, a casual appearance, some jokes, some conversation. Then everybody goes home. Simple. Except with Katt Williams, simple has a strange habit of becoming complicated. Because before the insults started flying and before social media turned the interview into internet history, the conversation actually began on a surprisingly normal note. The host started asking Katt about comedy specials and what separates good comedians from great ones. And almost immediately, Katt started reminding everybody exactly who he believed he was.
You've done
9 filmed comedy stand-up specials.
Without ever getting financed or having a deal with anybody.
You did them by yourself?
Yes, I own them 100%. I have the top 2 comedy specials on Showtime, HBO, Comedy Central, and we just moved to Netflix.
I didn't know that.
Nobody does. They don't promote it or sell the items after they come out because I own them, lock, stock, and barrel, and I don't have any Caucasian partners or people that invest. I'm 50. I've never had a bank loan or a car lease in my life.
Are you serious?
That's correct.
Now, whether you agreed with Katt or not, one thing has always been true about him. The man believes in himself. Not regular confidence either. The kind of confidence where somebody walks into a room already convinced they're 10 steps ahead of everybody. And to be fair, Katt had accomplishments to back some of it up. Multiple successful specials, sold out shows, movie roles, decades inside comedy. So at this point, the conversation still felt normal. Actually, more than normal. It felt like Katt doing what Katt always does, talking about ownership, independence, and why he believed the industry operated differently than people thought. Then the discussion shifted toward Netflix deals and comedians getting opportunities. And this is where the atmosphere in the room started changing, because Katt wasn't just talking about money anymore. Now he was talking about people, specific people.
Let you do your special, Gerard Carmichael, but nobody's gonna watch it. They're gonna let you be a star, Lil Rel, but you ugly. And white people don't believe in ugly stars. They think you have to be somebody that women want to sleep with and men want to be. But because we black, they say, oh, you don't even deserve that. So you get Kevin Hart, Lil Rel, Gerard Carmichael, all in a row, Hannibal Buress, just dudes that no woman would talk to in Lenox Mall, let alone you making them movie stars. Why? Because you know ain't nobody gonna sleep with them. You only got Tiffany Haddish. She been doing comedy since she was 16. You can't tell me your favorite Tiffany Haddish joke. Why? Because she ain't done a tour yet. She ain't done a special. She has not proven the ability to tell jokes back to back for an hour to nobody. And they already ready to down Monique and up somebody who has showed them Girls Trip. Did you think she wrote Girls Trip, goofball?
Now, suddenly, this wasn't a conversation anymore. This was Katt Williams doing what Katt Williams has made a career out of doing, saying exactly what he thought without slowing down long enough to think about who might get offended. And while everybody in the room was laughing, Wanda wasn't completely buying into it, because when Katt started talking about Tiffany Haddish, she started pushing back. Not aggressively, not yet, but enough to make the energy shift. Because from Wanda's perspective, Tiffany wasn't just somebody who got lucky and suddenly stumbled into success. She saw somebody who had put in work and earned her place. And the more Katt dismissed that idea, the more it felt like the room was slowly splitting into 2 sides. On one side, you had people watching Katt the way they always had, as somebody brutally honest enough to say things everybody else was thinking. On the other side, you had people wondering if he was simply taking unnecessary shots. But even then, the interview still hadn't reached the moment people remember. Not even close. Because the real turning point came from a question that looked completely harmless on the surface. Katt looked over at Wanda and asked,
how many kids you got, Wanda?
I have 3 boys.
Excellent.
Yes, I do.
At first, nothing felt unusual about it. No tension, no warning signs, just regular conversation. But this is where that pattern started showing up again. Because with Katt, simple questions had a strange habit of becoming setups. And little by little, every answer Wanda gave started becoming material.
What's your favorite thing to cook? Your boys,
They like for me to, I do a really nice broccoli. They like my broccoli and they love my baked chicken.
Hey, right now, look up your phone and see what it takes to make broccoli. And tell me, does it say heat up water? Is that the only step in broccoli? Heat up water? Simmer. Have you ever heard of burned broccoli? Can you burn broccoli? You can't burn it because it's made in a pot of water.
You don't know nothing about.
You know what her second meal they love from her? What I do with corn.
Whatever.
I like to tear it out that can and I put it in there. And then I get a can of water and I put it on there. And then I get some Zatarain's. They don't expect that. I sprinkle Zatarain's on my corn.
I am a great cook. Whatever.
Yes, ma'am. You good at heating stuff up.
This was the moment where people in the room started realizing what was happening. Katt wasn't answering questions anymore. He had shifted into roast mode. And that's a dangerous place to be if you're sitting across from a comedian whose entire career was built on quick thinking and finding weak spots before other people even realize they exist. Because roasting isn't really about yelling louder than somebody else. It's about timing. It's about seeing an opening and hitting it before the other person even knows it's there. And unfortunately for Wanda, she kept giving Katt openings. Then she made the mistake that changed everything. Because according to Katt, there were certain topics that had already been taken off the table before the cameras even started rolling. And Wanda was about to step directly into one of them.
You're good at telling us about what's going on in jail.
Yes, ma'am, and getting out to tell you. But I'm going to tell you at an arena named Phillips, and you going to tell me at the Atlanta Comedy Theater.
That's right, true.
Tomorrow, be there.
On the surface, it probably didn't sound like some massive attack. Just a quick jab, just a little pushback. But with Katt, there always seemed to be a line. And the problem was that most people didn't realize where that line was until they had already crossed it. Because to Katt, bringing up his criminal history wasn't just another joke. And once that happened, the atmosphere changed immediately. The smiles were still there, people were still laughing, but underneath it, the energy felt different. Because suddenly, this didn't feel like Katt joking around anymore. It felt like Katt responding. Then, right when things looked like they were winding down, Wanda poked the bear one more time. And what happened next became the part of the interview people still replay years later.
Get on out of here with that crazy ass.
Is he crazy?
And help me get to the salon. All right, it's the People Station Viewer 3. Your hair is kind of...
That joint was...
My hair is 19 inches long and I have no perm.
You don't?
Oops.
Oh, that's not a perm.
No, it is not. Nice lady.
That's natural.
Come run one of your gnarled fingers.
Come here.
While you on air, so they can hear you live.
Come on. Let me come over here.
No. That's not how that works.
Oh, okay. Well, then stay over there.
Don't worry, ain't nobody putting their hands through yours.
That's right. They don't have to. I don't want them to. Get on out of here. You okay? You okay?
Only one of our hands moving while we talk.
Are you all right this morning? And make sure
we ain't getting the headphones
and
coming
take
together.
off them old ass clothes you got on. How about that? Yeah, they're old.
Versace, yeah.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. She said Versace.
I want to apologize to the people at Versace Collection. This is your 2019 summer line that hasn't come out.
But you had to open it up and show us it was Versace. I wanted to.
No, I didn't have to open it up. These people are on radio. They can't see anything.
By this point, the room was gone. Not physically, mentally. Because there wasn't really an interview happening anymore. There wasn't a debate happening either. There was just Katt, completely taking control of the room while everybody around him struggled to keep up. To Katt's supporters, this was exactly why he had become such a respected comedian in the first place. Not because he yelled the loudest, not because he insulted people, but because of how fast he was. Because somehow, while everybody else looked like they were reacting in real time, Katt looked like he was already 3 steps ahead. But as funny as people thought the clip was, there was one question that kept showing up afterward. Why did Katt go that hard? Because watching it back almost felt personal, like he walked into that building already angry. But according to Katt, that wasn't the case at all. In his mind, the entire situation changed the second Wanda broke an agreement they had before going live. Because according to him, certain subjects were specifically supposed to stay off limits. And instead of avoiding them, she allegedly did the exact opposite. Suddenly the entire interview looked a little different, because now it wasn't Katt randomly attacking somebody. Now, in his mind, he was responding to a setup. And if there's one thing that keeps appearing throughout Katt Williams' history, it's this idea that he absolutely hates being played. He hates being lied to, he hates being disrespected, and more than anything, he hates feeling like somebody tried to catch him off guard. The problem was, the story still wasn't over. Because most people thought the interview itself was the end. It wasn't. The fallout was just getting started. Because only a few days after the interview aired, things reportedly moved far beyond jokes and hurt feelings. According to Katt, an angry and embarrassed Wanda allegedly told her husband to confront him outside of a comedy club. And what started as a tense situation quickly became something much more serious when someone reportedly pulled out a gun on Katt. Suddenly, this wasn't comedy anymore. This wasn't radio, and strangely enough, Katt didn't sound apologetic about any of it. If anything, he almost sounded like somebody who felt completely just perspective. That's what made the whole thing different. Because to him, this wasn't a comedian getting emotional over jokes. This was somebody escalating things beyond where they ever should have gone. Not long afterward, Wanda was let go from her position at V103 Radio. And just like that, what started as a casual interview had somehow transformed into something nobody could have predicted. And maybe that's because for Katt, jail wasn't some random headline people could casually joke about. Because while Katt had created plenty of figurative victims over the years through words alone, there were also moments where he found himself in situations much more serious than comedy. And once you start looking through that history, you start realizing something. The pattern didn't only happen during interviews. Sometimes the chaos followed him outside of them too. For example, back in 2012, Katt Williams was arrested for allegedly smashing a bottle over another comic's head. Not long after, he found himself in trouble again after allegedly threatening his own bodyguard. And over time, the list just kept growing. By 2016, things didn't appear to be slowing down either. Katt was arrested on a misdemeanor battery charge in Georgia after allegedly punching a pool supply store employee. Then later that same year, things somehow became even stranger when he ended up in a widely shared altercation involving a teenager. And for people already questioning Katt's behavior, moments like these only reinforced an image that had been following him for years. An image of somebody unpredictable, somebody impossible to control, somebody constantly surrounded by controversy. And the incidents didn't stop there. Still in 2016, Katt allegedly hurled a salt shaker at a restaurant manager in Atlanta, splitting the man's lip and leading to yet another battery charge. Then there was the bizarre moment during one of his own comedy shows where he suddenly walked off stage, headed into the crowd, and struck an audience member with his microphone.
Excuse me, mic check.
And then somehow things became even more surreal, because in another incident that quickly spread online, Katt was caught on camera slapping a Target employee before driving away in one of those little motorized shopping carts. It's one of those stories that almost sounds fake when you say it out loud, except it actually happened. And for years, that image seemed almost impossible to escape. But then, something happened in 2024 that completely shifted the conversation. Because after years of people laughing at Katt Williams, Katt finally sat down. Respect bothered him. Being underestimated bothered him. But lying? That seemed to sit in a category all by itself. And if there was one person whose name had somehow managed to repeatedly find its way into Katt Williams' conversations over the years, it was Faizon Love.
I only put on comedians that are funnier than me. Anybody that ever told you differently was a fat Faison liar.
Now this wasn't some fresh internet beef that had randomly appeared overnight. This thing went back years, all the way back to 2012, back when Faizon accused Katt of pulling out a gun during a heated argument involving a $50,000 debt connected to a comedy tour. And the strange part wasn't even the accusation itself. It was the way Katt allegedly found out about it. Because according to the story, Katt wasn't hearing this from lawyers. He wasn't hearing it from police. He was hearing it during a paparazzi interview, which is probably the last place you'd ever expect to learn somebody accused you of pulling a gun. And judging from his reaction, he looked genuinely confused.
You know, he was saying that you pulled a gun on him outside a supper club or something the other night, and you know, some crazy stuff going on.
Wait. Are you punking me right now?
No, I swear to God.
Wait a minute, you telling me Faizon, the actor, said on TMZ that I did what?
That a gun was pulled
You saying he's a snitch?
He's the allegation.
Saying he's a bald-faced rat?
These are the allegations.
You said that he went and told you street business?
Hey, I'm just saying this is what's on our website. I'm just asking you about that.
It's on the website already?
Yeah.
And instead of denying the situation and moving on, Katt immediately focused on something else entirely. Not the argument, not the accusation. The fact that Faizon allegedly took it public. Because once again, the same theme kept appearing. Loyalty, respect, honesty. Katt seemed to have his own internal rule book, and whenever he felt like somebody violated it, he reacted like somebody taking things personally.
We got in an altercation. He said some things. Then he called the police and the police came. They did a full investigation.
Yeah.
I was out, what?
Yeah, you were out quick. It was just kind of check you out, nothing was going on,
He
right?
weighs 450 pounds. I weigh 140. If his story is that Katt Williams he had a problem with in a parking lot, then he just needs to explain why Katt Williams' face looks like this and he still weighs 450 pounds.